in cost-benefit analysis, we need to identify the items of costs, items of benefits, and then put the dollar values on top of them. Frequently, this is easy to say than to do. So in practice, for a particular project, for example, like we want to evaluate whether a new treatment in medical science. So in such cases, the benefit of the treatment may be very difficult or even impossible to put a dollar value on top of it. In such cases, what can we do? We can use a method called cost effectiveness analysis. And here we are going to briefly introduce them. Right. Okay. So what we do in CBA is to identify items of benefit and costs and value them in monetary terms and calculate NPVs. If this is not possible, we can use what is called cost effectiveness analysis, and it is widely used in health field. Oh, okay, by the way, this is effectiveness. There's a typo here. So what is cost effectiveness analysis? It measures outcomes, effectiveness, and naturally occurring health-related units, such as life saved, life years gained, or cases of ventilators acquired, pneumonia prevented. So now you should know that the outcomes is not necessarily in dollar values. Okay. So combining this outcome with the costs, then we produce a ratio which is known as cost effectiveness ratios of the net change in costs between two interventions, divided by the net changes in outcomes produced. The net change in costs reflects extra cost required to achieve the differences in outcomes. For example, 1 life years gained. So treatment A has a cost of $10. Treatment B has a cost of $6. Then treatment B is better than treatment A. All right, let's quickly go through the steps we want to use in conducting cost effectiveness analysis. Step 1 is to be clear about your analysis perspectives. So define the perspective from which the evaluation is conducted. And this is important because your results might change if you have different perspectives. Perspectives can range from that of the patient to that of the ICU alone to a broader societal perspective. Step 2, to identify alternatives. So in assessing any given interventions, its cost effectiveness will differ depending on what is compared to. Usually here, a commonly used alternative or comparators is the status quo, the current standard of care. Then we measure the costs, and this should be, in principle, should be the cost of resources less devoted, the opportunity cost of resources devoted to this project. So the next best alternative use, and this is similar to the CBA. Then we want to measure the outcomes. Note that the outcome here, we are not measuring them in terms of dollar values because it's difficult to put the dollar values on them. In measuring outcomes, they usually come from single studies or an overview of numerous studies. So in such kind of studies, for example, if we want to measure to use cost effectiveness analysis to assess a new treatment. Okay, then the outcomes could come from what is called randomized controlled trials. Okay, for example, so we conduct this RCT, compare with the control group, the treatment groups has using these new treatments has 2 patients live 2 more years, and these 2 more years is used as the outcomes for our analysis. But in using such kind of outcomes, you want to be aware that it is important to recognize that the trials are often performed under strict conditions and may not be typical of what would be expected under usual clinical conditions. Okay. Right. Okay. That's step 4. Step 5. So usually the project we are gonna assess occurs of more than 1 year. So in such cases, we need to discount it, choose appropriate discount rate, and make sure that the time horizon or the total number of years for this project is defined appropriately. Then we can combine costs and outcomes to produce a cost effectiveness ratio. So this ratio provides a summary measure of the resources required to produce a particular level of health. So it is calculated as the difference in costs divided by the differences in benefits. So in general, the lower the ratios, the better the gain derived from a given expenditure. So the lower the ratios, which means you spend $1, you can achieve a better outcomes. That is, it costs less to generate a given unit of health outcomes. Okay, this is roughly the steps we want to follow when we want to conduct a cost effectiveness analysis. And if you are interested, you can have a read at these papers published in Critical Care Clinics.